Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Fewer courses, less spending on students, reduced teaching hours, the result of a squeeze on spending over the last 8 years in school sixth forms and colleges across England. The Institute for Fiscal Studies found that while spending on some areas of education, from preschool to universities, has gone up sharply, it's the opposite story for sixth formers and those in further education, thanks to real-term reductions in government funding. It also found that far fewer people are opting for adult education, as Simeon Brown reports.
At Waltham Forest College in East London, it may be the beginning of a new academic year. But like colleges everywhere, they're grappling with an old conundrum, the question of money. This is a further education college. Historically, institutions like this are supposed to be a major engine of social mobility. They're supposed to be where working class people of working age can come and upskill themselves and improve their life chances. But they, like sixth form colleges, say that they're losing money. So what is happening to a key part of our education system? According to new figures from the Institute for Fiscal Studies, in real terms, the government spend on sixth formers and further education college students has dropped from 7.3 billion to 5.8 billion since 2010. That's a 21% drop.
Further education school sixth form colleges have received cuts in their funding and they're expected to deliver the same level of education, and that's clearly a big challenge.
The figures also showed a reduction in the total spend on adult learners, as fewer mature students sign up. The Association of Colleges told us they believe the total number of enrolments has dropped by 62% in the last decade.
We're talking about people who want to retrain, people in the gig economy, people on 0 hours contracts who really want to get a better job, but they need the flexible learning. They need an evening class to go to, whether that's in health or social care or engineering or construction. And those are the very sectors of the economy where employers are saying, we can't recruit because we haven't got people with the skills.
But the mechanics of education finance are complicated. Take this group of students, for example.
About 2/3 of our students are adult students. And some of the students in this group behind me here will come into college to, perhaps they've been working in an industry for a long time, but they don't have the qualifications, so they will come in to get their qualification. Other adults will want to change career and move to a different sector to what they've been in. It can be challenging because of some of the funding rules, so some of these students will have to fund themselves, and I guess that's a decision they've got to make then.
Fernando is 31 with a young family and works in retail. This course is a means to change his prospects.
I work 4 days and I'm 3 days here. So in theory, I don't get any days off. And even then, the money that I earn in those 4 days isn't enough. So I have to do overtime. I have to push myself. So it's difficult, but again, it goes back to the fact that I've got an opportunity. Coming to this course, it was quite expensive, but the funding paid it. And they paid pretty much, well, they paid all of it.
You have to pay it back?
You do have to pay it back, yes.
If the cost of adult learning has impacted enrolment numbers, it has not put off Fernando, but he believes his student loan can help him change career. For Amphi, further education is her way back into the workplace.
I had my children young and I sort of just done whatever I could to just sort of make money, and got into a relationship, a little bit up and down. Anyway, when that came to an end, I said, right, you're going back to college, you need to do something. And I want to come out of qualification and be able to make more money and, you know, encourage my kids to go out and do the same thing, yeah.
Everyone here wants to improve their lives, whether they're a mature student like Amphi or 16 to 18, who, according to the IFS, have seen the biggest squeeze in education for young people in recent years.
Simeon Brown reporting. The Department of Education told us there was no one available for interview today. Spokesman said, despite difficult decisions made in 2010, schools' budgets were one of only 2 budgets protected, and that is, it is reviewing post-18 education and funding in order to look at how the system can work better for everyone. Shakira, you are a NUS president. Shakira Martin, and Professor Len Shackleton, you are from the free market think tank, the Institute of Economic Affairs. Thank you very much for joining us. Shakira, you're a beneficiary of FE, correct?
I certainly am. FE has given me the platform to be here. It's allowed me to break the cycle of deprivation and do something I never in 100 years thought that I would have the ability or the opportunity to do. FE saves lives.
Professor Shackleton, are you confident that today's Shakira at age, say, 18 would have the chance that she had, or 16, more important?
I think they probably would, but the whole area of funding of education needs looking at, and you know, to that extent, I'm sympathetic with Shakira's approach. But I think too much is going into higher education, and also too much, I think, is going into preschool, which is largely a subsidy to the middle classes.
Well, in a sense, where the money's gone is another thing, but surely perhaps the area that is perhaps most important, because of the rates at which people develop, is 16 to 18. The people who perhaps missed the chance at 16 can still get it back with the help of FE.
Well, I think they can, and nobody's saying that 16 to 18 isn't an important area of the education sector. It certainly is.
Well, in a sense, by practice, the government is.
There are, as the spokesman for the department says, you know, you've got to prioritise on these. I think the priorities are wrong, actually, at the moment, but nevertheless, we spend, as a country, you know, around 5% of our GDP on education, which is in line with most other developed countries. So we're not particularly stingy in relation to spending on education.
But we are a bit stingy when it comes to the question of this age group, 16 to 20.
So we're stingy when it comes down to FE in particular. Since 2010, there's been over a 24% reduction in the funding that has gone into further education. For me and for my membership, it's not about playing early years against higher education. It's about investing in education. Education is a public good and should be a right and not a privilege.
I must say I have a confession, which is that I wouldn't be sitting here if it hadn't been for the fact that I was able to go to Scarborough Tech and pick up 2 A-levels after I'd only got 1 at school.
And you went on to university, but you didn't stay there.
Well, but that's beside the point, but at least I got there.
It's about
but I mean, that is the issue, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is the issue, but the demand for post-16 education has changed very considerably. You've got now a very high proportion of the age group that's going on to study A-levels and go to university. And the pattern of student intake into the FE sector has changed. A lot of emphasis on apprenticeships, for example, which is a different type of funding from that which you use for people who are going on to get your 2 A-levels to go on to university or whatever it may be. So I think,
but the strange thing here is that the sector they bleed is the sector that possibly has the most social importance, that of allowing people who perhaps were disadvantaged to begin with to get up the scale. Is that not right, Shakira?
This is 100% true. We're talking about mature students that want to regain, parents and mothers coming back into education. We need proper investment in further education to give these young people and potential students what they need to break the cycle of deprivation.
What do you make, Professor Shackleton, of the fact that fewer adults are now taking any advantage of FE?
Well, that's an interesting question, John, because this is also happening at university level, where the Open University has suffered a major decline in student numbers. It may be that, in a sense, this is part of the success of increased higher education over recent generations, that there are less people looking to come back to retrain because they've got higher level skills already. So it's a different kind of thing. We hardly see any mature students, really, in higher education these days, whereas 20 or 30 years ago, as you know, large numbers of students were coming back, returners to education and so forth. That's not happening on the same scale today.
Well, Shakira, it might be interesting to determine the decision makers, how many of them perhaps needed FE to get to where they are.
And that's our problem. We're working with politicians and government that doesn't understand further education. They've come from structures like these elite institutions, and this is why we have a lack of funding in further education, because they don't understand the saving lives that it does for local communities, and this is why it's so important for me to champion.
Very briefly, is there any movement at all to press for more funding for FE?
I think as part of the review which the government is going to undertake of post-18 education, I think FE ought to be looked at again, because I think there are problems there which need to be addressed.
Professor Len Shackleton, Shakira Martin, thank you both very warmly for coming in.